Welcome to Bloomington, Indiana for a Big Ten soccer matchup between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Michigan State Spartans. Some Big Ten conference. Both teams looking for their first win in conference action. Jack Edwards, Amanda Foster, Brianna Baylock to join us in just a second. Amanda, a fascinating match between these two teams. What players have caught your eye?
Well, Jack, like you said, both teams looking for their first win in conference play. So for Michigan State, I'm going to be looking at Jack Beck, number 2. He started all 7 games for the Spartans. He was 2021 first team All Big Ten last year, a Big Ten player to watch coming into this year. He has 1 goal for the Spartans so far. Look for him to be a big contributor. On the other end of the field, we've got Ryan Wittenbrink, who's making his first start of the season for Indiana, usually one of the first players to come off the bench and make a big impact in that way for the Hoosiers. So going to be really interesting to see what he does as a starter. If he leads the team in 3 goals, so again, expect him to make a big contribution from the get-go tonight.
Some context on the current team from Amanda. For more on the past, here's Brianna Baylock.
Thanks, Jack. Indiana has been pretty dominant against Michigan State over the years, winning 43 games and only losing 8. IU's current win streak against the Spartans is 8 as well. IU is coming off their first Big Ten loss of the season against Ohio State. Head coach Todd Yeagley talked about how their team just looked physically drained. Michigan State is also coming off a loss against number 2 ranked Washington. With both of these teams coming off losses, what it's really going to come down to is who wants it more. Back to you, Jack.
Thanks, Brianna. And we've got kickoff coming just momentarily between the Hoosiers and the Spartans. Some changes in the Indiana 11 that we'll for surely get into throughout the match. And we'll get ourselves underway. The Big Ten debut for the Spartans and the home Big Ten debut for the Hoosiers. Ryan Whitmer getting his head to the ball there. Mentioned in the open from Amanda his importance as a starter on this team for the first time this season in his 7th appearance so far. Quentin Helmer also going to be a big player in the forward areas as well, usually playing as part of a midfield 2. Likely to play as a number 10. You see him with the ball in the middle of the park, giving it over to Ryan Wittenbrink on the left wing. Nick Sesak trying to play one down the line. It squeezes its way through for Wittenbrink. Wittenbrink looking up, trying to find options, taking on his defender. A different man facing him off than what potentially would have happened for a fully fit Michigan team. We'll get into that in a moment. Michigan State nearly having a chance to break there. Crossfield ball, unable to get it to go forward. Gumbale touches it down. Brett Beebe and Maloon Gumbale, part of a different Hoosiers back line than usual. Maloon Gumbale has played as right midfielder in a lot of these matches. This match starting off in the right back position. Nick Sesak also playing out of position in a certain sense, playing as the left back. So of the back 4, only one of them, Joey Mayer, probably playing in the normal position. Ben Yeagley also a player returning to the 11. And Herbert Endelay touching that one off to Sam Sarver. Endelay, the man who scored the only goal in Indiana's 2-1 loss to Ohio State, as Indiana continues to throw in on the near side. Now, man, we've got to break down the Indiana side of things with the changes. What do you expect was going through the mind of Todd Yeagley trying to make some of these switches?
Right. Well, so after Indiana's first loss of the season, their first game was against Clemson, and we saw the same thing from Yeagley in the second game following that big switch up in the lineup. So I would expect it's something similar. Just try to get something else going, get some other players time to see the field and see if they can come out and contribute something. Just get a different approach to it, maybe take Michigan State by surprise. Obviously, you would think Tommy Mahalik would be one of the main starters, and he's not, and so that could have ruffled their feathers a bit going into this.
In terms of getting off to a hot start, Michigan State couldn't have asked for a better start against number 2 Washington, then number 4 Washington. They scored within 50 seconds of that match. He came out to nothing in the end. They lost that match 4-1. And Washington, obviously the team that knocked out Indiana in last year's NCAA tournament. Always a team to watch out for as a big player in the collegiate stage. Maloon Gumbale picking out Patrick McDonald in a pocket of space. Got Sesak and Wittenbrink to his left. Wittenbrink trying to flick it on to Sesak, but instead it's hooked clear. Pressuring Mayer there was the forward Grayson Mercer. We're seeing that one looped into the overcast sky by Nick Stone, likely taking the spot of Will Perkins. An omission from the 11 despite being the joint leading goal scorer and leading assister for the Spartans. And that could have promised to be a very interesting matchup in that right side of the defense for Michigan State had it been Wittenbrink going up against Perkins.
Again, another change that we weren't expecting. Like you said, Perkins, one of the top players for Michigan State overall. He started all 7 games coming into it. So we're not entirely sure why he's not starting,
Yep.
but did, I'm sure, kind of go against what Indiana was scouting for, at least earlier this week.
One less threat potential for Indiana to deal with. Interesting to see how that will play as things go on. We're seeing here Mulungumbale with it coming together there off the ball. He's back on his feet, ready to take a throw in here, and he tosses it down to Quentin Helmer off camera. And here we are back at Jerry Yeagley Field. Indiana currently nursing a 12-match unbeaten run here at home, holding shutouts in 11 of those matches. Sesak, cross-field ball, is unable to find his target of Herbert Endeley. He's cutting infield. He's got Patrick McDonald. Interesting to see how the system tweak. We saw at the beginning of the year Indiana playing a 3-4-3, going back to their 4-4-2. Now they're playing kind of a 4-3-3, 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1, however you want to offer it.
There's a lot of numbers.
There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of midfielders there as well, Amanda.
It could come down to the two midfields going up against each other. Indiana has not had the most consistently strong midfield this season. It could be a big factor against a team like Michigan State.
Here's Patrick McDonald carrying it under some pressure of three Spartans, I should say. Trying to curb the habit of saying Buckeyes after Indiana's last match between Indiana and Ohio State, which the Buckeyes took that one at home. Well held off. A pass over the top, just over the head of a Spartan. Mulungumbale gonna have to deal with it under a good deal of pressure. Turns back. Sala was the one putting him under pressure. Low pass from JT Harms finds the feet of Endeley. He plays it off to Gumbale. As Indiana has a more conservative start, and they've kept the clean sheet barrier longer than Washington did in that match between those two teams in the midweek, and Helmer ready to turn upfield. He's got Sesak and acres of space on the left. He's going to loop one out to him. Finds the foot of Sesak. Indiana potentially a chance to expose a bit of space here. Sesak carrying it infield onto his preferred right foot. Gives off to Helmer. Wittenbrink going up one-on-one. The defender, it's poked back. Sesak puts it onto his right, loops one into the box, aiming for the head of Sam Sarver, playing as the lone number 9 in this contest. Yeagley putting the ball under some pressure, but Gumbale does well to win it back for his side. And McDonald can potentially carry it forward into some space. Sesak chests it down. Sesak back to McDonald. Wittenbrink turns inside. May have thought about a shot, decided not to in the end. The left-footed crack only finds a defender. That will be registered as the first shot of the contest by Ryan Wittenbrink.
Well, that's some pretty solid defending from Michigan State, not letting Indiana really even get into the box, keeping them on the outside good. They've had success closer up to the goal so far this season off corner kicks or penalty kicks, so keeping them out beyond is a good strategy to start.
2 banks of 4 by the Spartans, doing a good job to keep things a bit more concealed. Here's Sam Sarver, low ball in the box, finds a teammate. Wittenbrink's shot forces a save, and the ball is now cleared out, but a good hand low by Finnerty keeps things out for the back of the net.
Well, it's exactly what I was just talking about. You know, when Indiana can press up into the box, get close to the goal, and if there are a lot of players around the goal, they can take goalies and defenders by surprise.
Seeing Sarver's low ball in for Wittenbrink, forced a good save out of Finnerty. And Michigan State still searching for a first clean sheet on the season. It has not been solely up to Finnerty, as we're seeing a brief pause in play. Clock has stopped at 38 minutes on the clock. 2 players from Michigan State nearing the sidelines. I believe another one preparing to come into the match as well. Trying to get a sense of what exactly is going on. I believe a sub has just been taking place for Michigan State, at least one.
They've got Sala on the sideline. They're looking at him. Seems to be rubbing something on his face, whether maybe he got a bloody nose. Not sure, obviously.
Running back out onto the pitch was Landefield, as well as Stout, I believe, coming into the match the first time. Here's Helmer's corner in the box. Finnerty gets enough on it to get it out and looped clear a second time. And now Michigan State with the ball on the break, potentially taking it towards the byline, but asking too much of himself was, I believe, the recent substitute, Jonathan Stout. Stout not listed as one of the starters coming into the match for that corner. Always a risk to bring on subs during a corner, but in the end, Finnerty doing enough to get that one punched clear.
If there's any sort of injury, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
The header there knocked out of play, so it's going to be Back to Michigan State with the throw-in just inside their own half. They look to be potentially eyeing a longer one with it. Two larger frames up front. Battling for it was Gumbale and Ferry, and that one's knocked out. Last touch by Gumbale. Long throw, trying to pick out Spartans quite up the field. Questions of handball by both teams. That one's poked out of play. Last touched by Grayson Mercer. There's actually going to be a foul committed. Might have been a handball, some sort of combination of foul and handball there. And it's in the end an Indiana free kick. Mayer plays one low to Gumbale. He has played in the right back position before, and even in a solitary match, he's played as many as 3 positions. Against Butler, you think about that. Started as a right midfielder, moved up to play as the number 9 at one point in the match as a striker, then ended the match as a right back. Just having an unbelievable amount of versatility, a great weapon for Todd Daly to use.
Well, like you said, and the fact that he has that much versatility is really good, especially for in-game action, because he can move around and take on these different positions and take the other team by surprise.
Tyler Crawford knocking that one out of play in that left back position for the Spartans, and Gumbale going to toss it to Sam Sarver. He touches one forward for McDonald. Here's Endele, some space to run into. He's got Sesak with him out wide to the left. He gives it to him in some space. Nick Sesak with the ball. Slides back to Helmer. His low shot takes a deflection. It's going to spin out for a second Hoosiers corner.
Some fast breaks, it seems like, so far early in the game, and there's really hasn't been much of a chance for either team to get momentum with all the balls going out of bounds and the throw-ins and the corner kicks.
To take this one looks to be Ryan Wittenbrink going for an in-swinger with the right foot. It was Helmer who took the first one with his left. It will be Wittenbrink taking the second for the Hoosiers. They're packing the box. Referee taking a pause to make sure that there's no illegal action going on in front of the goalkeeper. We saw the last delivery went right towards Finnerty, forced him to leap over 2 players to punch it clear. Got to say, at least 15 players potentially in that box. Wittenbrink whips it in. It's a threat. It's flicked on. Last touched by a Spartan, so it's going to be flipping sides. Quentin Helmer to take this one as they switch sides. That one looked dangerous off of the boot of Ryan Wittenbrink, and it forced a deflection that you didn't always know that one wasn't going wide. But in the end, gives Indiana a second chance in quick succession from the corner. This one, they're going to have players running into the box. They're going to go short, in fact, to Endele. His is whipped in, and the header clear for another Indiana corner. They got them penned in deep.
Well, see what approach they take this time. Helmer back again. Looks like they're not crowding the box once again.
Maluna Gumbale stationed right in front of Finnerty. But about 5 Hoosiers making runs elsewhere. Helmer's ball in the box. Takes a deflection, further cleared, and it's knocked all the way back to Nick Sesak, who is the deepest outfield player. Herbert Endele has it. He can carry it into some space. Had Ryan Wittenbrink if he played the pass to him. Decided not to go with him. Quentin Helmer with it. Puts it onto his preferred left foot. Carrying it infield. Gives over to Sesak as Indiana tries to get back into their shape. Ben Yeagley with it, turning in the pressure of Mercer. Been a majority Indiana possession in the first 10 minutes of this contest. Along the touchline played. Sesak picks out Wittenbrink. Going up against Stone. Stone does well to force him back. Back to Sesak. Whips one in. Some loop on this one for Sam Sarver. It's not clear. Herbert Endele's shot off the inside of the post. Sam Sarver will keep it in play. Back to Endele. And that one's poked free with the outside of the boot cleared further. Brett Beebe intercepts though, and Indiana continues their barrage of pressure. Helmer plays it off. Beebe back to Mayer. What a chance there for Herbert Endele.
And Indiana as a whole, very good at applying pressure on the goal. Couldn't quite tell if Endele's shot was off the goal itself or off the hands of Finnerty, but either way, definitely the closest the Hoosiers have come, but they've been relatively close multiple other times early in the game so far.
4 shots to none currently on the score, but still a bagel for both teams. Michigan State still looking for a first clean sheet on the season. Here is Brett Beebe. Gives over to Gumbale. He tried to take on the defender for pace, but in the end knocked it out of play. Jonathan Stout doing a good job of keeping him out there. Referee slowing action down there.
Well, one interesting thing to note about Michigan State, obviously so far in this game they haven't been that aggressive, and statistically they don't take shots as often in the first half as they do in the second half, whether that's out of desperation as the game ends or a strategic move. You don't know until you see it. But something to keep in mind that they may be doing this strategically.
Interesting to see how things will progress in this match. Indiana was in a similar boat, taking just one shot, I believe, in that first half. A lot of pressure here. Michigan State wins it back. Chance to break, some numbers forward, but the pass only finds Joey Mayer, who does well to intercept. Could have tried to force it forward, but in the end, it's going to stay pretty possession-based. Gives off to Nick Sesak in the back. Sesak, great pass to Helmer. He leaves it for Sam Sarver. He's got Herbert Endeley as an option. In the end, plays it into acres of space for Malun Gumbali. He's got Endeley in the box. Low one, only finds Spartan. Sala, who's back in the match, does well with his back to goal, plays off to Mercer. His pass can't find Ferry up front, and Indiana resumes their dominance in the possession department.
Well, Michigan State consolidating its defenders more in the center of the field, not out close towards the out-of-bounds lines. And obviously you see along the front of your screen there, just a lot of open space for Indiana to take advantage of.
Ben Yeagley's ball out wide, intercepted with. Well dealt with by Stone. It's chipped forward. Mercer trying to control that one down for Ferry, but Joey Mayer does well in the pressure of two Michigan State players and plays it back to JT Harms, who continues his spot in net as Bryant Pratt continues his return to fitness. Both him and Daniel Mooney, a big omission, the Indiana captain, both out with day-to-day injuries. Sesak plays off to Herbert Endeley. He's played a very fluid role so far in this match. One back by Michigan State. Back to Finnerty. He's going to opt to go long with it. McDonald's pass to Sarver. Yeagley dinking one over the top. Stone and Wittenbrink battling for it. It drops. Stone takes a touch. It stayed in play, so it's just going to be an Indiana throw-in. Interesting, Nick Sesak, usually a player on the right-hand side, does their long throws. Now he's on the left-hand side, so a different threat for Indiana.
Exactly. A whole lot of switch-ups tonight.
Their first goal in their 3-all draw against Portland came via a long throw from Sesak on the opposite side, attacking this very same goal. He found Ben Yeagley for a shot, chance for an inversion of the play. As he launches it in from the left, he goes short. Gumbale backing into his defender, plays it back to Sesak. McDonald puts it onto his left foot. That one's whipped in. It's cleared, not fully dealt with though. Some pressure for Michigan State to work their way out of, and they do a great job of that. Holding their back was Ferry. Dinked ball forward. Brett Beebe to attack it in the air, flicks it back to Joey Mayer, and Indiana regains possession. 15 minutes gone here. 4 shots for the Hoosiers. The closest one being a sliced shot by Herbert Endeley that found the inside of the post, but just couldn't bounce inside. That pass too tall for Herbert Endeley, and it will go out for a Michigan State throw-in to be taken by Tyler Crawford. Jack Beck, who Amanda mentioned in the pregame, the ball in midfield there. Flick on by Mercer. Joey Mayer likely going to pass back to JT Harms. Will do just that. But Michigan State, again, limited in large parts to trying to chase balls over the top and trying to force Indiana into some mistakes on the break. But Indiana have remained steadfast, both in possession and in dealing with the counterattacks.
And not even very many counterattacks or big presses by Michigan State so far, even with the ball on the other side of the field.
This one's dinked over the top. Sam Sarver run onto it. His pace, always a key attribute. A great tackle, though, to deal with him in transition. They wanted that one to be a goal kick, but in the end, saying that one was last touched by Josh Adam, who did very well to keep up with the speed of Sam Sarver. Get another look at that one here. As Sam Sarver runs onto it, controlling that one. It's a tough one, a bit of a bounce there, but a great tackle by Josh Adam. Very little margin for error there. In the penalty box, one misstep there, and Indiana's got a chance from the penalty spot. Ryan Wittenbrink to take this corner kick after he readjusts the ball. Wittenbrink has an assist on the season already. Whips that one in. Good amount of whip on it. It's flicked at the back post by Stone. Quentin Helmer knocks it back in, but only finds his opposite number, Stone. His pass out trying to find Ferry, only finds Ben Yeagley. That one's going to stay in, though. Louis Sala always got a player in acres of space, But off his line is JT Harms. Debated whether he could back into his box with it, but in the end opts to clear it. Finds ahead of Ben Yeagley. Nick Sesak in the air. Then Patrick McDonald in the air. And in the end, Michigan State will end up with the ball. Here is Adam. Low one played into the channel. Mercer backing into Mayer. Turns with it. Back to a teammate. With it now. Still Michigan State, one of their longest spells of possession so far in this match.
Well, one thing to note about Josh Adam, so far this season he leads Michigan State in minutes compared to last season where he was injured most of the time. He only played in 10 games. So could be coming in, obviously something to prove after missing a decent part of last season, but a player to also keep an eye on as we go through the game.
Nice flick on there from Mercer, picks out Ferry, dinks one in into an awkward bed of space. Sesak clears it, but not fully dealt with, and it's still with Michigan State after winning the ball there. Sala can't take on Yeagley. He plays Helmer. Helmer to Endely. Endely is tackled there. Endely a little slow to get up. Often the recipient of fouls in those positions as he tries to bring the ball up in transition. As we're just seeing, in an effort to win the ball back from Tyler Crawford, in the end found the backside of Herbert Endely. Nice crowd here on what's, again, knock on wood, hoping there's no commentator's curse here, but looking to be a very lovely evening here in Bloomington if the rain can continue to hold itself off. That ball over the top is going to be deemed irrelevant as Ryan Wittenbrink was ruled offside. Michigan State free kick to be taken here. This one's lofted forward. Mercer gets his head to it, but McDonald gets the second ball. Flick on by Wittenbrink. Sarver touches it down into the midfield, trying to win it back, but Louis Sala does a good job to maintain it. Slid into the channel for Mercer. Got some teammates with him, he can do something with it. Mayer, though, gets a toe to it and knocks it out for a throw-in to be taken by the Spartans. And I think seemingly on cue. Is that some rain coming down, Amanda? It appears to be.
You are correct, Jack.
It's tough to tell.
There's a light misting, I would say, of rain. We've been looking at the Weather Channel for the whole afternoon into the evening, waiting for the rain to appear, and it has.
Yep.
Just about as predicted.
Right on cue, I said, hopefully it stays off, and I think right when I said that, couldn't have been worse timed. Here's Ryan Wittenbrink playing one over the top for Sam Sarver to run onto. He's got some space to dive into if he can keep it in play. He will get there in time, keeps it in. Gonna wait for his teammates to get up with him and plays it back to the man who fed him, Ryan Wittenbrink. Wittenbrink back to Sarver. Sarver's ball trying to pick out Herbert Endely, but not enough on it. Sesak was fouled there. Foul committed by Kellen Landefield. And an interesting position. Indiana might look at this as a potential opportunity to launch the ball into the box.
Not a whole lot of fouls so far in this game. Indiana has not been called for any. That was Michigan State's fourth. Not a lot of interference from the refs with their whistles so far tonight.
So it's Ryan Wittenbrink who's the lone man behind the ball. 6 Hoosiers along the edge of the 18-yard box. They make the runs in, looped into the box, headed clear. Well dealt with by Michigan State. Knocked back in and cleared fully by looked to be Mercer.
Michigan State so far with all of the advances Indiana's had and all the shots they've had, the Spartans have done a good job of reading the ball and being able to clear it, even if it's just a little bit. A little bit is better than not at all. And if once they can clear it a little bit and then clear it fully,
yep,
it messes up the rhythm for Indiana.
Nick Sesak playing it to Patrick McDonald. McDonald plays one for Ryan Wittenbrink into some space. Wittenbrink puts it onto his right foot. Ryan Wittenbrink standing up the defender. Gets into the box. Still Ryan Wittenbrink with the left foot. That one's blocked out of play, but Ryan Wittenbrink nearly taking on about 4 or 5 Spartans to try and get that one off.
Well, and that's something that we consistently see from Wittenbrink usually, as I mentioned earlier, when he comes off the bench.
Yeah, usually a guy very dominant on his right foot. Used that scouting from Michigan State to just cut it back, try and get into some space. And it was well blocked because that was a shot that could have cost him a bit awkward. May have even dribbled wide potentially for, looks to be Endley, who was diving into some space in the 6-yard box as well. Wittenbrink to take the corner. Whipped in. Not perfectly dealt with. Helmer's shot is scuffed. Yeagley puts a low one in. It's cleared out. And now the Michigan State Spartans could potentially break. Nice ball roll. Great pass. Running onto it into some space. Michigan State, it's 2-on-2. They can play Mercer in. Here is Mercer up against Mayer. Going to cut onto his right foot, but Joey Mayer stands tall and deals with it. And Ben Yeagley now to clear it fully and even launches potentially a counterattack if Sam Summer could have gotten onto it. But it was well won by Michigan State. Elijah Howe, the man who stepped up to deal with that one.
And Joey Mayer has been consistently one of Indiana's best players in terms of appearances, one of their top defenders.
Michigan State with the ball along their back line. Lofted into the night sky. We didn't get one of those typical Bloomington sunsets due to the overcast weather. Amanda and we were both very upset about that.
I would so much rather have a sunset than rain. I think everybody would. But it is what it is. And we're still here and we're under a tent, so we're okay.
we can't confirm. We're not being attacked by the rain. Maybe it's some others in the stands who are braving the elements a bit stronger than we are. Some subs coming in here. He made an appearance earlier. Jonathan Stout did. Now he's brought back into the match for Kellen Landefield. That's being made by Damon Rensing, Michigan State head coach. Sam Sauber controlling it with his chest. And Tommy Mahalik also preparing to enter the contest. He's near the 4th official on this near side. You can see him as Maluna Gumbale strides past him into the attacking half. Endley plays it to McDonald, does well in the pressure of Ferry. Plays it back to Mayer. Wittenbrink tries to dink one to Sesak. Can't quite find him. Wittenbrink battling the challenge, won by Stone. Stone plays a low one. It's a foot race now between Beebe and Mercer, but in the end the ball wins and it rolls out of play. We're going to go to Brianna for more on the coaches.
Yeah, Jack, something interesting to mention. IU's head coach Todd Yeagley and Michigan State's head coach Damon Rensing are both among the Big Ten's top 5 winningest coaches of all time by percentage. Yeagley ranks at number 2, and Rensing ranks at number 5. Both earned their first Big Ten head coaching jobs in 2009. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Brianna. 2 coaches who have been around the block in their experience. Indiana with the ball at the moment. Some umbrellas, as you can see in that student section. Tommy Mahalik, first time saying his name since he entered the contest. Passes off to Ryan Wittenbrink. Wittenbrink against 2 Spartans. Does well to give it back to Sesak. Puts it on his right foot, got 2 in the box. Lofts it in. It's headed clear, well won by Howe. Substitution being made, I believe, was Helmer coming out of the match for Tommy Mahalik. Ben Yeagley, some support defense there, but only finds Ferry. Ferry forced back by Patrick McDonald, and he fouled him, though, in the process. Ferry down, holding his leg after the challenge from Patrick McDonald.
Well, with Mahalik in the game now, I would look for him to play up along Sarver as the 2 normally do when they start together, but with the addition of Wittenbrink, there's a possibility for all 3 of them to be heading up the attack for Indiana. Seemingly more of an attack-minded lineup on the field so far, wanting to get that first goal of the game.
Free kick for Michigan State after the foul, lofted forward, flicked down, could have fallen in the box. Beebe plays a dangerous pass back to JT Harms, but he managed to launch that one towards the crab band and nearly hits one of the umbrellas in the student section.
I was watching that. Funny if the umbrella has a little spike on it, if the ball came down just perfectly. Crazier things have happened.
I think the ball might have won that battle compared to the umbrella. McDonald couldn't quite play the 1-2 with Nick Sesak, so it'll be a throw-in for Michigan State, deep in the Indiana half.
Really, the first chance the Spartans have had to truly control what the ball is doing on the Indiana half of the field, it seems like, especially this close to the goal.
No, that one was knocked off of a Hoosier. It might have been Joey Mayer in that corner, but regardless, it will lead to a corner kick for Michigan State. Can't quite escape the Ohio State that I was saying all last weekend. Ohio State, one of the best teams looking in the Big Ten at the moment. Currently ranked 15th in the nation. Indiana 16th. Sending it over is Tyler Crawford. He's got Louis Sala as an option. Nick Sesak is the face in front of him that he needs to deal with. Left-footed cross by Crawford. Knocked into the box. Mayer loops it into the air. Harms trying to keep it in play, but he doesn't do enough. Well, it's kind of hard to keep it in play when the ball looped out for the corner kick.
A bit of a dangerous kick by Mayer there. You know, you want to clear it, but when the ball goes up that high, the possibility of having a header come back in, you just want to, if you're Harms, you just want to get hands on it no matter where it goes.
He's comfortable with giving away the corner in this spot, surely. Crawford, Sala backs away from him. Left-footed in-swinging cross. Nearly found a Spartan, but it's headed out by Gumbale. Battle for the headers there. Last touch by Michigan State. It'll be Indiana who resume possession. A few Hoosiers warming up behind the stands. Not a stand. Whatever that's called.
Barrier.
A barrier. That's a better word than what I'm trying to come up with.
Yeah, not quite a stand.
You'd be surprised that I talk for a living at times. Maloon Gumbale under some pressure from the Spartans. Launches one forward. Howe's header. Put Stoner under some pressure. That one's a bit awkward. Touched down by Beck. Sarver and Mahalik trying to win it. Sarver ran taking a hand to the face. He's holding his nose after that. It's good to keep moving on though. Low pass. Wittenbrink wins it back. Yeagley trying to touch that one down in the midfield. McDonald will slide it all the way back to JT Harms under some pressure from Louis Sala. He'll opt to swing one out. Nick Sesak does well to rise high and try and keep it in play, but in the end, it will loop out.
Interesting to see sort of the switch up that Michigan State has made even in this first half with just under 16 minutes to go. They've got more attackers on the Indiana side of the field than they did in the beginning when they had that possibility.
Sesak launches one in for Brett Beebe. His pass puts it into space for Maloon Gumbale. Herbert Endley driving at some defenders. Cuts this one inside. Inside again. Good tackle to win the ball by Beck, but Endley knocks it down. Mahalik trying to get into a foot race. Howe, however, wins it and knocks it out for a throw. Herbert Endley had a moment of immense magic. We're seeing some of his dribbling skill right here. Good tackle by Beck. It appeared there to get enough of the ball to be good in Alex Beeler, the head referee of tonight's contest. Good enough in his eyes. Substitution coming in here. Sarver coming out for Carson Enderlon.
Not a bad touch by Yeagley there, just going back really quickly. Just no Indiana attacker there to get the ball.
Carson Enderlon will immediately get a touch. Back to goal. Tries to turn it. Slides one off to McDonald. He'll dink one over to Nick Sesak. Chests it down. Low left-footed cross. With his weak foot, was always tough to get that one to be dug out. McDonald was putting one in the box. Henderlong was an option, but he overshoots everybody, goes out for a goal kick. Interesting that Indiana has appeared to switch back to the 4-4-2. Henderlong and Mahalik making up the forwards with Wittenbrink and Endley as the wide midfielders. Yeagley as well as McDonald sitting in the midfield too. Header won by Gumbale. Dinked forward. Brett Beebe casts a glance over his shoulder. Harms. Coming together in the midfield, ruled to be a foul. Going through the back of Tommy Mahalik was Josh Adam.
Looked like there could have been a bit of a shove in the back there. Not surprised at the call.
Mahalik doing his best to sell it in the referee's eyes. But there certainly was enough contact to be adjudged a foul. McDonald thinks one forward. Henderlong back to goal. Trying to take on Adam for pace. He's going to keep it in play. Dinks it off of him. Forces him into a decision. He loops it out for a throw-in. Interesting if Indiana wants to go for a set-piece throw-in or they're going to just try and knock this one back into play. Looks like they're going to be doing the latter. So it's knocked in for Wittenbrink. Keeps it in. Nick Sesak. Low ball. It's awkward a bit, but it'll go over all players and allow JT Harms to take the ball around the Big Ten logo. operated almost as another center back with the way he's playing the ball that high up the pitch.
With the lack of pressure from Michigan State, you can definitely do that right now. The key is to make sure that Michigan State isn't able to grab that momentum and switch it up halfway through a run.
Joey Mailer gets the crowd going with a nutmeg as he carried the ball forward. The center back with a bit of flair there. Low pass from Sesak finds Yeagley. He's got to Mahalik. Mahalik puts it between the defender's legs. Mahalik's shot takes a deflection. Could set up for Herbert Endley. What a save by Finnerty. And he keeps things level here at 0-0. 0-0.
0-0.
Knocked clear. Here's Ferry. Takes a nice touch to put himself into some space. What an opportunity for Herbert Endley. You just couldn't dink it past the keeper.
Well, and once again, some good reactions from all of the Michigan State defenders to get the ball away from the net with Finnerty out of play, really, once he tried to dive for that ball.
Mulungu Bali take the throw in after that one was launched clear. Again, Michigan State bending but not breaking in their defensive structure. Around 11 minutes to go in this first half. Indiana up 8 shots to 1 in that department. And they've had a few good chances, mostly centering around Herbert Endley. Hit the post, and he's had a great one-on-one chance. It was tough to deal with, obviously, with the ball spinning and landing a bit awkwardly. Carson Henderlong was the option out wide to the right for Brett Beebe. Miscommunication, though, and the ball goes out of play. Crawford to take for the visiting team. Launches one forward. It's flicked on. Gumbale adjudged to have handled it. Zach Babiak, the man who was fighting for it for the Spartans. Looking at the chance potentially right here, takes a deflection, sets up for Herbert Endley, and just a great foot save by Finnerty there to just do enough on it.
Able to clear it out sort of at the same time.
Very experienced play by the senior, just get his foot in front of Herbert Endley, understanding that it's tough for him to get a pass without dinking it over him. And Herbert Endley offering the only man in the wall. That was looped in by Sala. Now towards the back of the box. It's dinked in, but it was last touched by Michigan State. It'll be Indiana taking a goal kick. I'm interested for the first 35 minutes of this contest, what you've seen, what you've liked, not liked for either team.
Well, Indiana doing a really good job of putting pressure on the Michigan State defenders. They've really controlled the pace of the game so far, but there hasn't been a lot of chance for either of the teams to get a good rhythm going. For Michigan State, I was expecting a bit more of an attack than what we've seen so far, with only having one shot. Of course, not expecting a lot in that department, knowing at least statistically how things work out for them.
Leaves it off for Herbert
but
Endley.
Expecting a bit more of an even play. You know, there is still time left in the game, or in the half, and we have seen how Michigan State is able to quickly turn around and become more attack-minded. So it just remains to be seen how that goes.
Down there is Maloon Gumbali. It'll be Michigan State take a free kick. Some trainers coming on after this challenge between Maloon Gumbali and Crawford. Actually, it appeared that he just kind of came up a bit lame in the hip area. Not a good sign. Indiana will hope that their senior is okay to continue. He's back on his feet pretty quickly, moving a little bit slowly. With about 9 minutes to go, we'll be interested to see if Yeagley and company decide to bring a player on for these last few moments. Looks to be that Lawson Redmond is preparing to come into the contest. And you're seeing Nick Sesak already slide over to the right back position. It'll just be see a switching of the fullbacks and Lawson Redmond to come into the match.
Well, Gumbale really not a player that Indiana really wants to lose. I'm not sure if I would go so far to say as they can't afford to lose, because they do have some significant depth in their bench. But you already have Mooney, who is day-to-day, obviously Pratt in the goal, and to have one more of your key players, one of your starters out. Obviously, we don't know what the case is so far, but to even have him sidelined with a potential injury is not a great thing for Indiana.
We'll keep an eye on Maloon Gumbale's status and we'll let you know throughout the contest should he return or what the long-term implications may look like there. Joey Mayer winning the header. Finds Tommy Mahalik, touches it down. Takes a nice loop. Michigan State potentially getting in behind. One-on-one. The player goes down. The bench of Michigan State is apoplectic. Nothing was called there. It appeared that Joey Mayer got something on the ball and then caught the forward running in behind. He's got open palms, wondering why nothing was called. It was Zach Bobiak who was in behind. Close one there, and a big one not given. We're seeing potentially another look at it here as the ball is looped in behind. It was Brett Beebe. Does get the ball and then connects to the defender. I think that was the correct call from our head official, Alex Beeler.
I am inclined to agree with you, Jack. Some interesting reactions from both sides, from both teams so far, as lack of calls. There's some questioning.
Harms loops that one clear. Low shot, takes a flick on. That one's cleared by Nick Sesak. And that one just drips agonizingly wide of the goal for Michigan State. That would have been a very awkward way to get their first goal of Big Ten play, but Nick Sesak, you see him saying wow right there. Like, that was close.
And it just seemed like a little bit of a slow motion reaction time there from Indiana as well.
And the ball just kind of slowly peters towards the goal, and I don't know if JT Harms is getting his hands there in time unless Nick Sesak can just sprawl the right foot at it and knock it out. Luis Sala readying a corner kick from this side. Whipped in. Header, can't keep it in play, goes out from the goal kick, and JT Harms telling his team to keep the focus. About 7 minutes to go. Indiana has controlled a majority of the chances, but that one, although it was a scuffed shot, you have to say, from Jack Zuge, managed to find nearly a first goal of the contest.
And you wonder if that is a little bit rattling, you know, just to have a ball be played like that.
Joey Mayer playing it off to Ben Yeagley, carrying it into some space. Plays one off, but it's intercepted, and Michigan State may try to break here. Carson Henderlong having to provide some defensive duties, and in the end, the ball is slid harmlessly to Patrick McDonald, back for Indiana. Beebe eyeing his options. Slides it off. Sesak playing to Yeagley. We mentioned Doug or Damon Renson so far in this match. Todd Yeagley also in his 13th season here at Indiana. Interested to see how both head coaches operate in the next few moments. Nick Sesak gonna loop one into the box for Tommy Mahalik. It's flicked on, chested down, and cleared out. Some last-ditch defending having to be done by Michigan State. Dealing with that in the end was Stone. Sesak likely to line up for a long throw.
Really good movement by Stone to get around Wittenbrink, who is very solid in the way he plays.
Sesak launches one into the box. It's going to sit for Brett Beebe, and he slides in between the keeper's legs. Calm celebration there for Beebe, but Indiana gets one here. An awkward goal, but he managed to get some space in the box and put it between the keeper's legs.
Well, an awkward attempt for Michigan State and an awkward attempt that resulted in a goal for Indiana, but you'll take it where you can get it, especially in the home opener in Big Ten play.
We'll see it again here. That one takes a deflection, and Beebe with a nice few touches to just get that one to sit up. And Finnerty can't do enough with it there. They appealed to the referee, but the appeals fell on deaf ears with just under 6 minutes to go. Brett Beebe gets his first goal of the season and gets Indiana underway in this match, up 1-0. Potentially the third assist of the season for Nick Sesak if they attribute it to him on the long throw. And the second time from a very similar spot that launching the ball into the box has caused some chaos for Indiana to benefit from.
Indiana is a team that so far this season has been able to benefit off of chaos, Jack, on either end of the field, it seems like.
Crawford launching one in as Michigan State want to get a quick response. This one's touchdown. But Brett Beebe with a first goal of the match. He's the smoke on the far side of the pitch. Joey Mayer's header is going to knock it out for a corner kick for Michigan State.
And this is where we'll see how Michigan State approaches the rest of this half compared to the second half. If they're going to try to be a lot more aggressive or try to just control Indiana and keep them from getting more momentum off of that first goal.
Brett Beebe playing as a center back right now, has played in the midfield at portions of this season and past seasons, showing the composure in front of goal to not lose his mind and just slide on low into the back of the net. But here's Crawford looking to get a quick response for the visitors. Left-footed in-swinger towards the back post. Finds a Spartan. Back across. Headed clear by Mayer. Still not fully dealt with. Crawford, it sits up for him. Referee raises his flag. It's whipped across. I believe it's going to be a handball given against Crawford, and Indiana escapes.
Good heads-up play, no pun intended, or full pun intended, by Mayer there to clear the ball even a little bit.
In the spring 2020 season, Brett Beebe had a sequence where he was named Offensive Player of the Week, getting 2 goals and 2 assists across the season. That was when he was playing as a midfielder. Scored a brace against Wisconsin. That was what led to that Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week award. Getting back to his goal-scoring ways, even though he's currently playing as a right center back for this Indiana squad. And Indiana, I'm sure, in the final 4 minutes are more than happy to ride things out into the break. But here they launch one forward for Tommy Mahalik. A great touchdown. Had Henry Long run into the box, instead going to take on his defender. Adam does a good job to keep up with him and tackle it out of play.
Well, in a way, you know, I can understand Indiana kind of slowing down, but they also have nothing to lose attacking, and maybe you can chip away at Michigan State at their mentality, especially going into halftime and coming into the second half knowing that things are not going to slow down.
I mean, if a counterpoint, Amanda, they have one thing they could lose, the lead.
Not if they're attacking for their own goal, though. Unless they make a mistake in it. Of course, they can always lose the lead.
Here is Wittenbrink whipping one in with the right foot, and it's dealt easily with by Finnerty. I understand the point, though, Amanda,
yes,
that
thank you.
by trying to take control of the match, potentially could see good things to come. Here is Michigan State. They will look to try and break on the counter here. The pass in behind, one-on-one. Harms does enough to get his fingertips to it, saying that all he brought down the man, got the ball as well. And Michigan State, just like that, gets in behind. Left by Mahalik for McDonald. Will dink one out for Endley and touches it down for Mayer, who just says, let's calm it down and try and keep things more focused at the back. But that was a really nice outside of the boot pass. I believe it was Bobbiak trying to find Ferry in the transition.
And Harms, luckily for Indiana, just there, just able to get to it. If he had not been able to get hands on that ball,
it's a penalty or goal.
Yeah, we might have an even score now.
He came off his line and he was aggressive, but he did enough to deal with the situation. And we have seen JT Harms kind of grow into the season. Get another look at it here. Nice pass by Bobbiak, and it was Ferry running in onto it. And you just see Harms get his hands to the ball and do enough to keep it from getting past him. Endley driving at the defenders. Steps past another. Adam launches it off Herbert Endley. And that one was adjudged to be a goal kick.
Worth noting, the rain stopped some minutes ago. We'll keep an eye out.
About to come back, Amanda.
You know what?
It's a mortal lock.
Oh, well. If it comes during halftime, could be worse.
The players would appreciate that. The fans, they don't really have anywhere else to head to.
That's true.
But it is a weather, in terms of temperature, lovely evening.
It's the coolest night we've had in Bloomington so far. It's very nice.
We had a 95-degree day just earlier this week. Kind of typifies Indiana weather. Hits you with some summer heat, and then now you've got a nice, cool fall, and I'm sure next week we'll have snow.
Oh, of course. And then it'll be 85 degrees again.
Henderlong down after a tackle there. They're frustrated that no advantage was played there. Yellow card actually going to be divvied out. Indiana will feel a little bit better about that. Elijah Howe, the man who was booked there. Get another look at it as we see that one slid forward. Well touched down by Henderlong and got a nice foot in the back of the foot from a Spartan as a reward. The clock has stopped at 1 minute and 4 seconds left. And here's Ryan Wittenbrink. He's got Hoosiers queuing up at the edge of the 18-yard box, readying for a ball to be launched in. Looks to be about 5 of them, with Ben Yeagley as well on the edge of the D on the 18-yard box. Mahalik to his right as well as an option. Whips one in. Headed clear. Lawson Redmond Gets it as we hear the crab band get into full flow with less than a minute to go in the half. Oh, what a move on the wing by Carson Henderlong. He's still with it. He's going to cut it back. He finds Endely in some space in the edge of the box. His chest pass can't quite come off, but he gets it back. Endely standing up the defenders, plays to Wittenbrink. Tackle does just enough. Beebe dinks it back to Ben Yeagley. Indiana could try and keep the pressure up. They'll slide it back to Nick Sesak. 30 seconds to go in this half. Indiana may try one last launch forward, try and double their score before halftime hits us. Yeagley, Beebe. Gets him out from under his feet. Nick Sesak. Low one. Finds Endely. Endely could pick up Mahalik forward. Goes for Wittenbrink on his near side. 10 seconds to go. Whipped into the box, too tall for Lawson Redmond, and that's likely going to be how things head into halftime. Indiana 1, Michigan State 0. Amanda, your thoughts after that first half?
Well, we saw for the majority of the game, or the majority of the half, the dominance of Indiana's offense, of course, able to get a goal. And really just, again, also on defense, really just overall Indiana really taking it against the Spartans, able to keep them from scoring, keep them from really threatening very much close to the goal at all. We saw, of course, the few chances that Michigan State had, they were unable to capitalize on it, and Indiana really with all the momentum going into the half.
Now we're going down sideline with Brianna Baylog, who's with head coach Todd Yeagley.
Thanks, Jack. Now I'm here with Coach. Now, Beebe kind of slipped that one right in between his legs to get the first goal of the night. What have you liked from him and the team so far?
We played pretty well. I mean, we've had a lot of the ball. We're a little bit more decisive. I'd like us to be a little bit better on the edge to create potentially some more crosses, some more corners, or pullbacks. So we're just a little bit tentative at moments. We could be more aggressive. Other than that, we've created some decent chances and held them to limited. So overall, pretty good.
And what's the plan going into the second half?
Similar to what I just mentioned. Yeah, just being a little more aggressive on the edges and a little more decisive around the box.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thank you.
Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Brianna. Some interesting insight from Coach Yeagley there. Certainly happy with the scoreboard, where his team is currently up 1-0. Currently, Indiana leading things as we head into halftime. We'll be back in a moment for the second half between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Michigan State Spartans. Welcome back to Bloomington. Indiana 1, Michigan State 0 as we are nearing the end of the halftime. Both players coming back out. Lovely pug to get us back underway here. At halftime, Jack Edwards, Amanda Foster, Brianna Baylog here in the broadcast booth for today's contest. A bit of rain falling here as we see some halftime stats. The lone goal of the match coming courtesy of Brett Beebe, keeping his composure in the box. A slide one through the legs of Owen Finnerty.
Well, and you'll see looking there the shot difference, Indiana with 9, Michigan State with 4. And Indiana's 9 were really all relatively threatening, well thought out. Some were chaotic, but some worked. Beebe's goal was in the midst of chaos, and it worked for Indiana. Michigan State on the other side, really, it seemed like the majority of their shots, maybe 1 or 2 were thought out, but the other ones were just kind of last-ditch attempts. And so it'll be interesting to see in the second half as Michigan State typically shoots more in the second half than in the first half, if we're going to see more kind of just going for it or really well thought out plays, because they're left to play catch up to Indiana right now.
Getting a sense of how the 11s look like coming out of the half for both teams. Seeing if Damon Rensing or Todd Yeagley switching things around after that first 45 minutes. On the Indiana side of things, it appears that they are going back to how they got the match underway, with I think the lone exception being the switch at the back due to the injury from Loon Gumbale, as well as up front Tommy Mahalik on in place of Sam Sarver on the Hoosiers end of things. And we have seen throughout the match in the last few moments on the Michigan State side of things, Ferry and Babiak have been the two that have led their 4-4-2 formation. The 2 banks of 4 that they've operated with in their defensive structure has been pretty solid so far, and really it only took an awkward long throw from Nick Sesak that was able to break them down.
It's interesting that we haven't seen a lot of Sarver in this game. He is one of Indiana's bigger attackers with the speed that he has. Yeagley with some strategy there, clearly.
Well, in this formation, you have kind of the 3 midfielders, whether you call them wingers in a 4-3-3 or midfielders in a 4-2-3-1. Besides the point, you imagine Mahalik, Sarver, and Henderlong, and Nate Ward as well, all fighting for that lone number 9 spot. So heavy dose of competition.
Exactly. And
it actually came down to a center back as the guy who was able to put the ball in the back of the net. Seeing the goal scorer, Brett Beebe receives the ball. I believe his first goal since the spring 21 season. Joey Mayer surveying his options. And it was Nick Sesak, after being moved back to his native right back position, was the one who got things going for them. That one takes a bit of an awkward deflection. Howe fires one back to Finnerty, and he's would have done well to keep that in play. In the end, launches it out. It's going to be a corner kick for Indiana after that pass was fizzed back by Elijah Howe.
A bit of a dangerous pass there. I'm not sure if Finnerty was quite expecting it to come that quickly. Gut reactions, just get to the ball and don't let it go anywhere else. It sets up a good opportunity for Indiana right out of the gate.
Within 2 minutes of the second half, it's Quentin Helmer who's standing over it. He's going to whip one in with the left boot. Awkward one. It's headed clear. Crawford fighting for it, manages to keep it in play and fires a low one. Finding Babiak. Pokes it forward. Ferry, it requires a great challenge from Tommy Mahalik to win things off of him. Tommy Mahalik steps past 2 defenders, 3 defenders. Tommy Mahalik still with it. Forced back by the defenders and tried him with his left foot. If he was able to come off with that move, would have been one of the goals this season for Indiana.
There's really no way you can get a ball through those many defenders.
I mean, he was going up against 4 after he beat 2 or 3 others. Slow to get back to his feet is Babiak after the challenge from Tommy Mahalik. Definitely a lot of a full-blooded challenge there from the forward, and he did well to win it back and then took that adrenaline and drove forward with it. And I believe Damon Rensing conversing with Alex Beeler, trying to make his case about why that should have been a foul in the midfield.
Babiak, still a ginger on his feet. He seems to be limping a little bit still, jogging around.
Interested to see what they decide to do going forward. McDonald turns upfield, and Patrick McDonald actually scored in the last match between these two teams in East Lansing last season, his first career goal for Indiana. Mahalik turns, skips past the defender. Little bit of contact there. Referee says no foul. Brett Beebe forced to chase back after the long one played forward, and JT Harms slides into the midfield for Ben Yeagley. Keep an eye on Tommy Mahalik's run off the ball. He's been very aggressive with it out of the open of these first few minutes, and don't be surprised if Indiana can get him behind once or twice because of his movement. Wittenbrink driving at Stone, steps past him, plays off to Mahalik. Mahalik with it. Yeagley slides it out wide for Sesak. Sesak back to Yeagley. Fires a low one, and I think he got caught in between two minds with him and Quentin Helmer. An apologetic hand goes up, and that one rolls out of play.
But again, just a good start for Indiana so far in the second half, putting the pressure on the Michigan State defense, forcing some mistakes possibly.
I believe the discussion is still centered around that tackle from Tommy Mahalik. I think the issue he had was the studs were quite high from the forward from Indiana, and though he did win the ball, he's noting the damage that was suffered by, I can't tell if it was Gianni Ferri or Babiak. I believe it was one of the two forwards from Michigan State. And Beeler has heard the complaints of Damon Renson, and he will return to the pitch.
I believe it was Ferry, number 10.
I believe I'd said.
I'm not mistaken.
That seems to be correct.
It's hard to see the numbers from up here. We do our best.
And 10 to 11, it's a pretty tight discrepancy. The 1 could look like an elongated 0 and vice versa. This one slid back, a dangerous pass. Tommy Mahalik cheats onto it. Tommy Mahalik gets past the defender. Mahalik in behind, squares it across goal. Somehow Quentin Helmer can't get that one across the net.
So miss by inches on the right side of the goal there.
Mahalik with the selfless pass across the goal. I think he was one-on-one with the keeper there. You just put that one home.
I would tend to agree with you. We'll see on the replay.
Mahalik skips past Howe. He's just got Helmer puts it in front of him too much. Helmer tries to squeeze it forward, and in the end dragged it just wide. And Indiana, a golden chance left waiting, still 1-0. You'll commend Mahalik for being very selfless there, but I think that's you got to be. You're the number 9, ruthless. You're in one-on-one. Just punch it past the keeper.
He may have thought he couldn't get quite the right angle. He was off to the left of the goal, but yeah, with the way Tommy Mahalik plays and his ability to seemingly sometimes create those shots out of very difficult situations.
Sasak's ball in. It just goes over Wittenbrink's head. He wants a deflection. Trying to keep it in play is Michigan State. Apologies for interrupting you there, Amanda.
Ooh, no worries.
Redmond wins it back. Joey Mayer playing very advanced. Dinks one back into the midfield, and Indiana very aggressive here. They'll hope that this sustained pressure and aggression can lead to potentially a second goal. Skipping past Stone is Wittenbrink. Keeps it in play. Dinks it back. Helmer's low shot is blocked out of play. Quentin Helmer, though, is taking up some very dangerous positions in the first few minutes of this half.
Well, at the very least, you're keeping Michigan State away from scoring one of their own goals to tie the game.
Their thought process right now is not how do we score and equalize, it's how do we not concede a second. Great move by Wittenbrink to get past the first challenge, and good vision to find Helmer. That's a good shot if he could beat that first defender. It's going to be Wittenbrink to take this corner on the near side. Got some movement in the box from teammates. A low one in. Actually goes on the edge of the box. McDonald second to it. Sala gets there in front of him. There's a player wide open for Michigan State if he could have found him. But in the end, it's still Indiana. We'll get the throw in, and they'll toss it in quickly to Ben Yeagley, who was going to realize didn't have as many options forward as he would have liked, and he's going to opt to maintain possession.
One of the things to keep in mind for Indiana in the second half is we've seen in past games, especially against Portland, allowing more shots and more goals later in the game. Not that they get lazy, but just that they let things up a bit more against the opponent. The defense sort of falls back sometimes. So if they can keep the ball on the other end of the field away from harms in the goal, obviously it's going to set them up better to not concede a goal.
Redmond. Low one. McDonald fires to Wittenbrink. His pass, a bit too much on it. Nice tackle from Yeagley to knock it back, but it's still with Michigan State, who will have it at their back line. About 8 minutes into this half, and they've not had a great foothold in possession to start for this new period. They've made a few mistakes at the back trying to play it out, and Indiana's capitalized. They do it again here. Wittenbrink couldn't quite find Tommy Mahalik. He puts two hands to the turf, upset with himself that he couldn't get that going there. Heavy touch there. Helmer stretched out with a tackle but couldn't win it, and now in a lot of spaces, Tyler Crawford. Driving forward, he's got an underlapping run from Beck. Here is Beck, a lot of space in the 18. Beck's ball in, finds a teammate, a heavy touch, sits up for Stone. It's knocked clear. Tommy Mahalik with it now. Can he get out from under his feet? No, he can't. Won back by Michigan State. That was a good chance. Great run by Beck. Just couldn't quite find the right pass. Found a teammate, but it couldn't quite turn out into a goal.
Heavy touch by Bobbiak. I have to think that if he had been a little bit lighter, been able to control the ball, he was set up very well to at least get a good shot off.
Ferry dinks one in, takes a deflection, tackled by Sesak. And it's going to be a corner kick for Michigan State. We talked about their inability to kind of stay in this match with opportunities in this second half, I should say. And they responded in turn. They had us in one ear, rest of the match in the other, and they were saying, let's prove them wrong yet again.
Well, we saw this in the first half a bit as well, where they shifted in and out of being more aggressive on the offense, and it's going to be key for them to stay aggressive on the offense here and not fall back into being forced to defend like they did in the first half. Because that is how Indiana got their first goal.
That ball in was a little awkward at a point, but Indiana loops it clear. Michigan State forced to retreat and start over anew. Here's Tyler Crawford, passes it off, back to Crawford. He's being given a bit of space. He's one-on-one now with an opposing fullback. Not sure what he was trying to go off with there, but it only finds JT Harms, who will step off his line to collect. And Joey Mayer forced to be the senior leader at the back line in the absence of the captain, Daniel Mooney. Yeagley allowed a bit of time and possession in the midfield. Mahalik flicks one forward to Helmer. Mahalik trying to keep it. Does just enough to keep it. Gives it to Endley. He's going to keep it. Skips past the defender. Gets some olays from the crowd. Gives it off to McDonald in a bit of space. Some nice interplay from Indiana. Low pass out. Here's Wittenbrink. Wittenbrink driving at the defender on the left side. Redmond dinks one in. Headed clear. Touchdown, and Joey Mayer is the one who will poke it out of play. Looked frustrated that he couldn't keep possession for his side, but he knocks it away for a throw-in for Michigan State. The sub recently coming into the match, Jeremy Sharp. Taking that throw there, the chest by Yeagley. Looped back, Mayer, an awkward bouncing ball for Beebe to deal with, but he'll knock it back for JT Harms. And he'll give it back to where he got it from, Brett Beebe. That'll be a throw-in for Michigan State. Pretty advanced. Could try and go with something quickly here if they would like to, but they'll opt to keep it slow.
It seems they've been doing that throughout the game, strategically get it in slow and not sail the ball into the air too much, possibly.
Their possession in Indiana's half has been pretty sparse throughout the match, and so they're hoping that they can turn these into quality opportunities when the quantity isn't always at their liking. Long throw, I believe, being prepared by Sharp. A lot of Spartans in the box, an option coming a bit shorter. Indiana's goal came from a long throw from roundabouts here in that first half. Sharp launches one into the box. Headed clear by Beebe, headed back in by Michigan State, but it's going to fall in the end for JT Harms. So JT Harms just going to launch it out to Lawson Redmond as the rain slightly gets back underway here at Jerry Yeagley Field at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Slid over here. Here is Joey Mayer. Give it over to Nick Sesak. Sesak. Pass it back and forth to Ben Yeagley. Yeagley has Endley. Still with Quentin Helmer. Finds Tommy Mahalik. Indiana back to their shape that they tried in the first half with Quentin Helmer playing at the tip of a midfield triangle. Wittenbrink going up against Sharp. Kicks it off him, wins a corner kick for his side. He'll be the man to take it.
And the rain once again coming down. Some of the hardest rain we've seen tonight. Indiana with some adjustments to its field, able to really, kind of, I touched on it earlier, but just level the ground a bit. There's been some conditions that have made the field difficult to play on, postponing the Notre Dame game Indiana was supposed to play earlier in the season. So we'll see how the rain affects play so far. It's not too bad right now.
Postponed a pair of Indiana-Notre Dame matchups, both for the men's and women's teams. Wittenbrink to whip one in here. Finnerty does well to go out and claim. And was eyeing potentially launching one forward quickly, but in the end, opts not to.
We have seen play get a bit more spread out in this half. Seems like just both teams not as consolidated on one end of the field.
I'm sure Michigan State will probably be the team that prefers that. Would love Indiana to offer them some spaces to try and equalize things. Indiana had a golden opportunity. Tommy Mahalik getting the ball one-on-one with the keeper. Went with the selfless route, squaring it for Quentin Helmer, but the pass wasn't quite on for him, and he dragged his shot just wide. That one landed right on our sideline reporter, Brianna Baylog's water bottle. Took a massive tumble. Mahalik fighting for it. Wittenbrink keeping it. Redmond. Redmond. Looking at his options, Herbert Endley making a bit of a cross-field run from right to the center, but he wasn't given it to. And now it's Joey Mayer with the ball crossing over to Brett Beebe. Sesok, cross-field ball, Ryan Wittenbrink under it. Gonna chest it down. Up against Sharp. Loose touch, well dealt with and cleared. Not fully dealt with, but knocked out by Jack Suge.
Indiana once again just able to keep possession of the ball, keep control of the game, and really all the momentum. It seems like Michigan State has been struggling throughout the match so far to get a solid grasp on the flow of the game.
Switch. Very positive sign for Indiana. Maloon Gumbale preparing himself to come back into the contest on the touchline here. Went out with a slight knock, but he's clearly fit to come back into the match. Interested to see how he's utilized, because he could play quite literally every phase of the game. He's played as right back, but as a right midfielder, central midfielder, as a forward, as a winger. So your guess is as good as mine, Amanda, on what he ends up doing. McDonald dinks one for Nick Sesok to run on to. Does manage to not keep it in play. I was going to say he does manage to keep it in play, but he did not.
Not quite. Well, and especially because Indiana has a host of opportunities and of where they could approach the game, whether they want to be more offensive or more defensive, and you can use Gumbale in any of those situations.
Coming on now is Vedad Kovac, coming on for Zach Babiak. And the man coming out for Maloon Gumbale is Herbert Endele, so he's going to be operating likely as a right-sided midfielder, as we're seeing him immediately get into the action, trying to keep that one under some pressure there. The rain beginning to patter down a little harder on this Friday evening in Bloomington. Appreciate you joining us for some Big Ten conference action. Both teams searching for a first win. Michigan State in their first contest, and Indiana in their first home matchup. Turning and keeping that one is Ferry under the pressure of McDonald. Gives off to Kovac. Sesok wins it. Forced to play it back to JT Harms. He's got a man bearing down on him, so he's forced to take it with just one touch out. Sala touches it down. Great tackle by Helmer, using his body into the back of his opponent. McDonald turns with it and keeps possession.
Both teams have been doing a good job so far tonight of getting those tackles without a lot of fouls called. Of course, just the one yellow card, so far tonight. And not a lot of fouls. Michigan State with 5, Indiana with 3, so relatively low for both teams.
Relatively clean game, especially when we had that match between Indiana and Portland earlier in the year when it was about 30 fouls for the Portland Pilots in that 3-3 draw. Thrilling match.
Very different pace of play compared to tonight.
Very different. I believe it was about 3-3 roundabouts right now in that match. Maloon Gumbale, Sesok overlapping him, gives it off to him.
Kind of like keys to the game in a way.
Yeah,
I'll sort
and
of
then for Illinois, they're really known for their tough serving, so it's going to be really important for them to be able to stop that springiness of Maryland. What's up?
He said, hopefully this is Scott, otherwise disregard the picks.
Run. And a nice header by Redmond. This one's dinked out wide, but couldn't quite pick out Sala, and I think Finnerty gesticulating that he wants him out wide a bit there.
Rain coming down even harder now. The fans are still here, braving the elements.
Coming on now for Ben Yeagley is Sam Sarver, signaling to Quentin Helmer to drop back into the midfield. Indiana returning to a 4-4-2, and also ready to come in is Jack Wagoner. He'll come in at the next break and play. That one's tossed in. Maloon Gumbali back into the defender, flicks it on, but only finds a Spartan rather than a Hoosier. Michigan State still only get down by a goal, even though maybe the chances have swung in favor of the Hoosiers. All it takes is one moment. It's passed back, fired out, touchdown with the head, and Quentin Helmer is the man who will win it. Got a few options forward if he wants to drive out the defense. Plays one in behind. Tommy Mahalik collects, puts it onto the right foot. Tommy Mahalik slowing things down, but well defended by Adam there, and he knocks that one out of play. He was always in control there, staying in front of the defender, from the attacker, I should say.
A really good read there, especially with the addition of Sarver coming back into the game. There's more options for Indiana up at the front by the net. You can go Wittenbrink, Mahalik, Sarver, Gumbale. Of course, we've seen that anybody on this team can score.
They've got goals from a variety of different players, and they had a fresh goal scorer for the first time this season in Brett Beebe. He's got the only goal of today's contest. Well, that's well won by Sala. He's got an option in front of him, but he's forced back by Quentin Helmer. Forced inside and gives it off to Beck. Michigan State has Indiana penned in a little bit here if they could try and attack. Sharp plays it on the touchline. That one did go out of play, and it will be Michigan State who can see possession as the rain begins to definitely come down in a bit more force. Interested to see how that begins to play an impact on things as the match progresses.
Oh, I was about to say, Jack, one thing to really keep an eye on is the way the ball travels on the ground. We've seen it before, and it's even happening now, I can tell. Skip along the wet patches and kind of slow down. It's not able to skim as easily as it would on grass that is not wet. You could see even more play in the air.
Redmond trying to give up to Sarver, winning it well there. It's Michigan State dinked in. Nice bit of interplay. They've got the ball out here on the right. They could put one into the box. They dink one in. The header. It's left well by Redmond, and Sarver, as you say, JT Harms collects. Was coming together in the box between Mercer and Redmond, but not even a cursory glance given towards that as being a foul.
No, just a little bit of a fall.
Good use of the body as well by Redmond, just getting in the way of things.
Yeah.
Mercer, again, back on the pitch, should mention that, has come on pretty recently.
And again, still not a super aggressive press from Michigan State. You know, in that opportunity with Redmond so close, you could have had other attackers coming in since there wasn't really anyone else for Indiana there besides Harms.
This one's lofted forward to Sam Sarver. Backing up with it, he dinks it past the defender, trying to keep it, but a nice turn by Tyler Crawford. Spins free of Sarver and plays it back to his defense. Nice bit of flair. Keep possession for the Spartans. Lofted forward. Nice use of the body. Flicked on. Gonna try and keep it in play. Dinked back in, but Joey Mayer is best to it. Plays it to Maloon Gumbali. Tyler Crawford steps in front, wins the ball, but gives Indiana a throw. Patrick McDonald returning to the match after coming out for Jack Wagoner, coming back in for Quentin Helmer. Pair of lefties in the midfield, exchanging places in the 11. 23 minutes and change left in this one for Michigan State to find an answer for Indiana to secure a first Big Ten win on the year. They're 0-1 after a defeat to the number 15 Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus last weekend. Ohio State, I believe, struggling to a 0-0 draw against Cleveland State in their next match after that one. Another non-con for them. Interested to see how the rankings view some of these Big Ten schools going forward. This one's played into the channel. Mercer driving onto it. Plays a low one. Mayer knocks it clear. Michigan State beginning to grow into the match a bit more.
Once again, though, just an easy read by Mayer to clear that. Not too much competition up close in the box yet.
Only finding the backside with the cross there was Beck. Sasak will clear. Nice touchdown with the chest of Sarver. Trying to dig it past the defender. Claimed for a handball. Nothing given. The freshman Sharp playing it. Turning upfield, Sala. Crawford plays one. Beebe dinks one forward. Good amount of contact in the back. Sam Sarver appealing, the crowd appealing. Referee not listening. Wittenbrink gets it after a nice challenge won by Redmond. Good tackle. And Sharp collects. Plays it back and is lofted over the top. Joey Mayer going to have to be careful under the pressure of Mercer, and he does well to head it back into the hands of JT Harms, who will just roll it out to Brett Beebe. Lawson Redmond moving a little slowly after that. Herbert Endley preparing to return to the match. We have seen both teams without some pretty impactful defenders. Indiana without their captain, Daniel Mooney. Michigan State without their leading goal scorer and assister, Will Perkins. Always a case of what could be if you had your full complement of options.
And Indiana's been without Mooney for the past few games. They've been able to adjust to his absence. And of course with Mayer on the back line, usually the two of them go hand in hand. He's able to take on a bit more of that pressure, it seems like.
Interesting to see how the added responsibility, as you mentioned, Amanda, for Mayer plays a role in things going forward. Obviously his older brother Jack got a bit of familial experience. Older brother Jack playing with Nashville in the MLS. Recently scored for them in a 3-all draw. That one's fired. Might have been tipped over, but just kind of a watchful hand being given by Finnerty after the shot in by Wagoner. Coming in is Herbert Endley. Tommy Mahalik is the man to make way, and we're seeing Endley gesture to his teammates about where they should be moving to, and it's going to be Malungumbali and Sam Sarver becoming the front two, with Endley and Wittenbrink as the wide forwards. The wide midfielders, wide forwards can depend a lot on the phase of the game. Very versatile team, to say the least, Amanda.
Oh, absolutely. One of the best things you can have as a coach, just bringing in players whenever you need them in certain spots.
Wagoner chests that one down and passes off to Sesak. Yeagley has liked the play of Jack Wagoner so far this season. As a freshman, he's come in and played a big role. We've kind of seen Yeagley, Helmer, and McDonald operate the main three guys rotating, as well as Brett Beebe when he's not forced to play in the defense in others' absence. Been the main guys rotating in that midfield, but Jack Wagoner's tossed his name in the hat as well. Seth Stewart, another freshman as well. Low pass, slid out wide. Sharp steps up with it. Nice flick on. Sharp steps past another defender. It's touched by Beck, and he's got it out wide. Low pass. Crawford. Good pass inside. Trying to keep his feet. Standing off the defenders. Still with it. Steps past a few of them. Still has it. Low one in. It's poked out by Mayer. Gives his keeper a high five. Could have left it for Harms, but took no risks. Knocked that one out of play.
I think that's some of the best play we've seen by Michigan State up that close to the goal. Just some really good footwork, really good passes leading up to it. Like you said earlier, they've definitely seemed to grow into the game a bit more. Just under 20 minutes remaining, they might have to grow a bit quicker. But they've definitely been able to give themselves more chances.
Pass swung out wide. Whipped in. The header, it's in. Michigan State have equalized, knotted things back up here at 1. It's Mercer knocking that one in for the Michigan State Spartans. And they're playing the role of spoiler here at Jerry Yeagley Field, almost out of nothing. A lofted ball in the box, nice glancing header, and they've knotted things back up here at 1.
Once again, just sort of an awkward roller there for Michigan State. We saw one in the first half. You'll see on the replay. It just comes in wide. Goes in, just gets right past a diving Harms.
It's a great header in the end. Great ball in by Sala as well to whip that one in. Mercer doing a great job to adjust himself in the air, using the full length of his 6'2" frame to flick that one on. And with 18 minutes to go, both teams have it in them to try and potentially get a winner. And again, a big implication, there is no overtime. So we got 18 minutes to decide the result of this match. Grayson Mercer, though, the man who's equalized things. It was really kind of a lull in the match where usually you don't expect much to happen. and they kind of took a stab into the box, managed to get that one to go off. Endley gives off to Joey Mayer. Mayer dinks one over to Nick Sesak. Flips it back to Wagner. Sesak whips it in. That one was being waited for by Sarver, but the header won by Howe. Wittenbrink working for it. Redmond carrying into some space. Plays off to Sarver. 1-2. Redmond in the box. Back into play. Endley couldn't quite get his feet right in the box. Couldn't get the ball to sit in front of him. And Brett Beebe now carries it forward. Sesak has an overlapping run from Beebe. Instead goes to Endley, but it's won back by Michigan State, but Wagner steps forward to collect it again in the midfield. Pair of subs, Nate Ward and Ben Yeagley preparing to come back into the contest. Lawson Redmond goes to McDonald. Slides one out wide. Here's Nick Sesak. Left-footed cross. Headed clear. McDonald chests it down. Redmond back to McDonald. Wagner drags it with his right, slides it to Beebe. Eyeing potentially a ball into the box, goes low to Endley. He's got the space to carry it into. Herbert Endley plays it to Maloon Gumbali. Fired that one, but it was off frame. Going back down sideline, Brianna Baylog, third member of our crew.
Thanks, Jack. After Michigan State scored that goal, I heard Coach Yeagley for IU on the sideline screaming, "Let's go, boys." Just trying to remind his team that there's still time to make this another score up so they can be up by 1. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Brianna. And that one came out of almost nothing, as she mentioned, and Indiana probably would have been happy to settle for a 1-0 victory rather than trying to push for a second. And how big is that Tommy Mahala, Quentin Helmer chance look in retrospect?
Exactly. Even more so, it was big in the moment.
Endley driving this one forward, trying to make that one go into a distant memory. Ryan Wittenbrink, great tackle by Sharp to win it off of him.
I mean, you can see the increased sense of urgency that Indiana has on the attacking front now.
That one might sit decently. It is actually going to roll out for a throw for Michigan State. Sub coming in as well. Coming on for the assister in Sala is Jonathan Stout, another freshman, coming on to try and make an impact on things. Sharp, another one of the freshmen, playing a role in things in this match. Lofted forward by Michigan State. Beebe to chest it down. Mayer, his ball forward, headed down by Sharp. Bit of an awkward one, and McDonald ends up knocking that one out of play. Very sad news, and that's for the PA. There will no longer be post-game autographs due to the weather in the area. A bit of rain. You don't want to have the paper that the autograph is written on, you know, wet,
Yeah,
ruined.
then you just got no autograph.
And you got no autograph.
Lots of rain on the radar for the rest of the night, really. It's stopped right now, it seems like, or it's a very light drizzle.
From our vantage point, you know, it's always tough to tell high up under a tent. This one's well held off by Mercer, the man who got the goal. Intercepted by Yeagley, finds Nate Ward, who's come into the match. Had a body in the back and a bit of a delayed whistle there, and it will be given. Damon Rensing, hands on his head. Upset about that call. But Indiana with under 15 minutes to go in this one, still searching for a winner. Yeagley plays one. Endley, nice. Chopping to the feet to keep it with him. Gumbali leaves it. Nick Sesak. Sesak's ball in. Can't find a Hoosier. Sharp might have got a touch to it. Did not. Michigan State throw, well dealt with by them in the end to do just enough to keep it out.
Well, Wittenbrink, close, but not close enough to get to that pass. You see the reaction from him afterwards, just disappointed in himself.
Indiana trying to keep the tempo up. Throw in by Redmond to find McDonald. Sesak, Beebe. Going down under the pressure, the challenge from Herbert Enderle appeared to be Beck. Tough to bring out the number. Yeah, it was Jack Beck who was brought down by Herbert Enderle. She's launched forward. Left, and it will be an Indiana throw now. Sesak the man to take. Indiana hopeful to not make it 2 consecutive Big Ten matches without a victory. Enderle played this one. Knocked back. Here is Beck carrying this one into space. Might have been Stout. As a matter of fact, it is Stout. Under some pressure from Ward. Does keep it off. Back to Stout. There's a low one out to Sharp. Freshman to freshman. Played into the channel. That one hit the shoulder. No, it hit the arm of Lawson Redmond. He's going to get a booking for that one.
The Michigan State coach is calling for a handball almost immediately.
It definitely was a pass. I was picking out Mercer if it had gotten past Redmond. So interesting. I think I would agree with that yellow card call by the official, trying to make sure that Lawson Redmond's not allowed to gain too much of an unfair advantage too often with using the hands to block the pass there. But
exactly.
He gets the first booking. I believe the first booking for an Indiana Hoosier in the match today. Only 10 fouls combined between the two sides. 6-4 split. Michigan State edging that. Teams knotted up at 1 in terms of goals. 15-6 Indiana lead in the shot department.
The sole shot on goal Michigan State gave them.
Beck whips that one in, and Harms collects. But as you were saying, Amanda, lone shot on goal, lone goal.
You only need one.
You only need one. They'd love a second.
Oh, yeah.
Try and win things here. It was not a very fortunate non-con. They played against a lot of very talented teams. Michigan State did. Foul committed there by Ryan Wittenbrink, pressuring Sharp too much. It went 2-4-1. Defeats against some very good sides in Akron, Washington, and Notre Dame, who were all ranked at one point, and Washington, who beat them 4-1 in their last match, currently ranked number 2 in the country. No shame in losing to number 2 team in the country.
Definitely not. And being able to score a goal against them.
And Indiana can relate. Playing against Clemson, who were number 1 in the country when they played them, they're now joint 10th in the nation after about 8 matches played for them. That one's lofted in. Redmond will have to further the job and does just that. Puts it over the head of Sharp, and the keeper Finnerty will have to come off his line to operate as the last line of defense. Tommy Mahalik also preparing to come back into the match.
Good move by Egley to, I think, bring Mahalik back in. He brings a lot of energy and aggressiveness up at the front line.
Coming out is Ryan Wittenbrink. Wittenbrink coming off, getting a pat on the back from Ty Yeagley. Another decent shift from him. Not able to accent this one with a 4th goal on the season. We'll hope that his team in his absence can make something go there. This one's dinked in. Harms having to step up and deal with it. He slips. Very interesting how things play out going forward. Swung out for Lawson Redmond. Redmond dinks one over. Sharp, his header knocks it out of play. Mahalik wanted to go quick with the throw. He'll slow things down and toss it back to Patrick McDonald. A looping ball. It's only going to find a Spartan. BB does well to step forward with it. Ben Yeagley collects. His pass picks up Tommy Mahalik. Mahalik moves it to the right foot, trying to keep it. Malungo Bale sits up for him. It takes a deflection, and Finnerty was scrambling. He might have been beaten if that one was a bit more unfortunate for him, but it manages to go just wide for the Spartans.
A really neat play there by Mahalik to just kind of not pass the ball, just kind of let it sit there.
And it's going to be Tommy Mahalik try to put this one in. Scored the winner against St. John's with a bit of acrobatic scissor kick. He wants to be the provider here if he can whip one into the box. That one's low. Crawford gets a foot to it. Mahalik, though, driving. Lofts one in. Trying to keep it. It's going to be now Michigan State on the break. If they can find him, got a man in a bit of space, dinking it out wide. Harms well off his line. Passes it out of play for a throw. And Indiana manages to avoid a bit of a counterattack threat there. And Louis Sala will come back into the match. preparing to come back in. Jack Gugamis coming out. And as you can see on the screen, there is no overtime if the match would end at this current scoreline. Been a few overtime battles between these two teams in the past few years. Most recently in 2018, Indiana win that one goal to nil. This one played out wide. Crawford lofts one in. Too far, out to the back post now. Sharp is going to collect. Crosses it back in. Beebe heads it clear. A bit of an awkward volley, and Harms will watch it loop over his net.
Both teams with a few more just last-ditch attempts to get a shot in there, get a ball close to the goal.
Maloon Gumbali coming out for Ryan Wittenbrink. Indiana's leading goal scorer back out there. Wittenbrink, Mahalik, Ward, and Endley, the front four, more or less, as Indiana tries to get a winner. McDonald collects. Gives off to Sesak. Sesak clips it forward. Ward's flicked header. Trying to pick out Ben Yeagley. It's slid back. Mahalik going to provide some pressure for Finnerty. He launches that one high. Header won by McDonald. It's going to sit though. Tackle committed. And the foul committed. I believe it was Stout in the midfield there. It was indeed.
You can see Joey Mayer on the right side of your screen motioning just to hurry up, get the ball in, get things going.
Yeah.
Just about 7 minutes left. It's getting down to the do or die moments for both teams to get some pressure on.
This one slid. McDonald passes off to Endley. Endley steps in field. Has Wittenbrink out, gives it to him. Wittenbrink one-on-one with Sharp, driving onto the right foot. Wittenbrink's shot on target. It was low for Finnerty. Not an easy one to deal with, but he stayed in front of it and made another save. Indiana's 17th shot of the match. This one from Ryan Wittenbrink. Couldn't get that one to squeeze past. Finnerty. Certainly in no rush. I think Michigan State, the happier of the two teams, should the match end currently level at 1 goal. Looping over is JT Harms able to collect after his opposite keeper launched one forward.
Especially, this is the Spartans' first Big Ten match. I'm sure they would rather settle in a draw than with a loss. Going slowly takes away the chance that Indiana will be able to put another ball in the back of the net.
Ward committing a foul there in the pressure, trying to win that one back. Manning knocked down was Jack Zuge. Under 6 minutes to go. But Michigan State certainly not out of territory of winning this match. Indiana, vice versa, not sort of out of territory of losing the match. Launched forward, Mercer fighting for it, chests it down, picks out a teammate, plays it back to Mercer in the corner, lofts one in, touchdown, a nice turn, plays it off for Crawford, but Herbert Endley having to play a vital defensive contribution and poke that one out of play.
A good quick read by Endley. I don't think any Indiana defender was expecting the ball to be positioned in that way, and
No.
for him to be able to see it and run over and clear it any way he can.
You saw the defense shift over, and it was Nick Sesak who was guarding the forward, and he's the right back, the furthest in terms of length of the pitch. So Herbert Endley having to come in from midfield to provide the last bit of defensive support. Otherwise, Tyler Crawford would have had an open look at net.
Exactly.
And that one just slid to him as he's going onto it full speed. You would have fancied his chances to score that. Here is Crawford. This one's whipped in. Knocked out a play by Joey Mayer. Another chance for Michigan State, who have Indiana penned in. All their players in the box, or except for Patrick McDonald, who's guarding the short corner. Whipped in. JT Harms goes to collect. Punches it not 100%. The volley is blocked. Takes a bit of a spin, and Yeagley managed to head it clear. Tommy Mahalik does the rest of the job. It's dinked back up, though. The header back. Nick Sesak will fully clear it. Hooks that one clear. Tyler Crawford to touch it down. Managed to keep it in play. That one lofted forward. Lawson Redmond heading it clear. Endley heading it. Wittenbrink to touch it down. He may have an option for it if he wants him. Nice ball into the channel, but just not enough on it for Tommy Mahalik. Sharp stepping forward well to deal with it and plays it off to Zuge. Dinked over. Mercer running onto it. Harm steps off his line to clear that one into the midfield. He wanted an offsides call, but nothing was given. Battled for it. Yeagley has it. Has a few runners forward. Waits for Sesak out wide to the right. Gives it to him. Sesak may go back to Yeagley, but he's guarded by 2 Spartans. His ball in. Untouched. It goes out for a goal kick.
Indiana pretty widely distributed along the field right now with under 3:30 to go. Just trying to get a good read on the way Michigan State is approaching this.
That one too tall. Foul committed by Nick Sesak. He was upset about that one, but I think he used too much of the defender as leverage there, and a foul is given. Under 3 minutes to go. Really do or die moments here for both teams. What's the third option? Do or die, or just stay the same and it ends in a tie?
Yeah.
It's less,
I'm not sure there is a third option for do or die.
Less poetic.
Yeah.
For sure. Clock stops at 2 minutes, 41 seconds. Referee wanting to make sure that the final minutes are not too wasted.
There is plenty of time for someone to score.
This one's fired in. Flag goes up. Mercer was offsides. Even if he got his header on frame, it would not have counted. Harms plays the ball forward for Brett Beebe. Crab band going, trying to keep this team up with the energy they need to try and get one final goal for the home side. Herbert Endley got some space to run into. Bit of a heavy touch, well tackled. But we're seeing a great win by Yeagley. Picks out Redmond. Redmond's got Wittenbrink, as well as Yeagley making a nice run infield. Allow him to carry it. Endley loses it, and now a potential break for the Spartans. Beebe forced to step up. Mercer, great drop of the shoulder, and a nice pass picking out Tyler Crawford. Crawford running onto things. Crawford looks up. Low one in. Sesak blocks it. Under 2 to go. Michigan State knocking on the door.
Well, we've seen Michigan State throughout the second half just grow into the game more, have more opportunities to be even relatively close to the goalkeeper, close to Harms getting shots off. They still don't have nearly as many shots as Indiana, with 17-8 being the difference, but they've definitely been able to threaten more in the second half, and obviously they scored. So definitely growing into the game more than they were.
They've won the second half in that sense.
Yes.
This one's looped in for a corner. The header back in. Wittenbrink kicks it out. Sharp touches it down. Fires one. Takes a deflection. Nick Sesak fires one forward, and Tommy Mahalik's running onto an awkward one. Nice first touch by Tommy Mahalik. Can he keep his feet? A great bit of defensive tracking back. Able to clear it out. Can they keep it in play? They can do. 1 minute remaining as you hear from the PA. The crab band kicks in. Final moments of anxiety for both defenses. Here's Ben Yeagley. Slides off to Brett Beebe. He's got Nick Sesak out wide if he wants him. With the outside of his boot, he gives it to him. Sesak's got 6 options in the box. Whips it in. The header just wide of the target. With 40 seconds to go, that may have been the last good opportunity of the match for either team.
Well, all of the Indiana attackers, you saw Ryan Wittenbrink just either bending over, hands on their knees, hands on their head. You'll just see on the replay, so close.
Herbert Endley, the man who got highest with it, glancing header, couldn't get enough on it to knock it on frame. Under 20 seconds to go now. We've seen about 20 seconds burned off with this goal kick alone, and I'm sure Finnerty's under no rush to take this one. And this match in Bloomington will end 1-1. Actually, we're gonna have a very late red card for Michigan State. Little implications there, but some after the match extracurriculars. After a off-ball cleaning out of Ben Yeagley, waiting to see who the red card was administered to. The implications are going to be for next match, most likely, as the Michigan State players coming off of the bench. not a pleasant scene as the match is, I believe, done. You can't add more time on for the red card, but it was, I mean, the match was about to end, and we saw Ben Yeagley just get absolutely walloped as the ball was in the air.
And right in front of the student section, no less.
And quite idiotic, to be honest, because a red card given there.
Some confusion between, there's Harms
I think
there.
I think it was Luis Sala as the man, he's saying to him what he did, and Luis Sala given the red card there. Could be a VAR check. I'm not sure if there's any implications for this match, to be honest with you, Amanda. We're getting another look at this one. It's kind of tough off the ball. You'll see it. You just kind of see a bit of a body contact there.
Yeah.
He just shoved. It was Jack Beck. Jack Beck, I believe, the man who was administered the red card.
The ball not even close to either of them.
I mean, the players are still on the pitch, and nobody's entered the field of play yet. The referees are sorting out. There could be a last gasp opportunity here for the ball to be knocked back into play.
I would think there would be, there's very little time on the clock, though, even if there is a last
I think there may be
chance.
2 seconds on the clock. They're going to go over here, verify that there is about a second on the clock. They're going to give them a second, and then they're going to launch it back into play.
So really, 2 seconds. If this
No.
is, if the implication is for next game, so
Yeah.
why are you like you can't?
I think you got to play it out by the letter of the law. It's under. I think also the red card is under review. Red card, Amanda, to me
tough.
seemed a little harsh.
It is
was
tough.
It was an ugly bump. 5 seconds on the clock. I mean, that's a bit more time than there should be, in my opinion, at least.
Well, here's
And
the
so-
reviewable situations on the screen right now.
Yeah. So goal scored, red card, disciplinary matters, and just a fight occurred as well as another big thing there. So I think it's a case
Beginnings of a fight.
Yeah,
but
I mean, look, at the end of the day, if it was Jack Beck, the man who knocked him down, why are you doing that at the very end of the match? It does. It boggles the mind why that would be a logical thing, because there's 5 seconds left.
And it's not like
this
it was chippy or aggressive.
No, this one's launched forward, and 5 seconds. It's tough to imagine the ball being able to fly that far in that few amount of time. It would quite literally be the ball is fired into the box, header is knocked down. If I'm JT Harms, I'm going forward for this.
Oh, you got to run. There's no point.
I think you're sticking JT Harms as a bigger frame up there, especially with all the players back now. So we're seeing a different angle here.
Just
off
right
the ball.
towards the center.
Yeah, I mean, that's just dumb.
Right. I'm not sure if that qualifies for a red card. However.
Yeah, it's a case of suspension now if they're going to be able to have him out for the next match. And 5 seconds left. I mean, they added the time to the clock. The red card is actually given to Luis Sala as well. So, look, I mean, Luis Sala is the man who got sent off there. We saw him kind of talking about with Rensing after the play. He's kind of talking to him about what he was doing. It's just kind of a shove in the back. Out next match. Captain there, so
that's a big, especially if you don't have Will Perkins back. Obviously, we don't know why he played or he didn't play tonight for Michigan State. But if you have two of your top guys out, and Perkins also a captain.
Next match is against Michigan, so not an opponent you really want to have a weakened 11 for.
That's a blow either way. You have to think for Michigan State.
Still undergoing VAR review, just as a quick update for you there. Waiting to see what the implications are. I think worst case, Amanda, is the match just kind of ends.
Right.
Just they say, all right, there wasn't really anything there. We're just going to kind of end the match. And then we'll kind of, in a very awkward sense, shake hands and go our separate ways.
Right.
But every outfield player, except for Ryan Wittenbrink, who's set to take it, is out ready to try and make something of this. And every Michigan State Spartan is also lined up on the edge of the box, except for Owen Finnerty, who's on his goal line. Michigan State just in... Get it out. It's 5 seconds left. You do not need this to be pretty. You just need the ball to not go across your goal line in the next 5 seconds.
That is the goal.
We're seeing a conversation between Mercer and McDonald. As both teams are being afforded an ample amount of time to discuss things. Actually, there's a substitute, Jansen Miller, coming into the match. So Indiana putting the center back on for just a moment.
I will say, I think this is one of the most perplexing endings to a sporting event that I've seen.
Because, I mean, there's also the fact that what if they just recognize that right when the red card happened, the match ended. And this is not like a professional European match where there is added time.
Exactly.
When
There's
the clock
not even,
goes,
it's not even overtime for a tie anymore.
When the clock goes, the match is over. So my understanding of the rule is that should a shot be put on frame, even if the clock goes, it's as if like a buzzer beater in basketball.
Right.
That's my understanding. It could be a case of once the clock goes, it's over.
Right. We're
And I think that's what they're
kind of
verifying.
in the dark here.
They've put 5 seconds on the clock, and I'm not sure how legitimate that is for things because to me, there's 1 second at most, based on my recollection of events. And if
when the collision happened, it was much less than 5 seconds.
I believe the referee is nearing a judgment, discussing with his fourth official as well. They're trying to figure out how much time to add. And I think if it's anything less than 5 seconds, and there could be an NCAA rule, maybe there's a foul or something within 5 seconds, like as a time-wasting measure.
Exactly.
But a real rigmarole of a situation, elongating the ending of this match.
Well, you've got the fans seem half prepped, ready to go get out of the weather. The players, the bench, just not sure what to do. Everyone on the field is just, they're all having conversations
So the
now.
referee has come out, and he wants to speak to the head coaches. He's got Damon Rensing to his right and Todd Yeagley to his left. So I think he's explaining what's about to happen right here. We're seeing both teams huddle up as well. 4 seconds have been put on the clock. And I believe he's establishing what is happening. Hopefully we'll have a understanding here as well.
Well, and looking at Rensing's reaction, his body language, he doesn't seem too pleased with.
I believe the red card has stood just by that logic. I don't see
that's
Louis
what I
Sala
would
on the
think
field.
too.
So that's big in that sense. They have him no longer for the Michigan matchup next. And there are 4 seconds left for Ryan Wittenbrink to hook one in. Indiana has one last gasp opportunity at the halfway line.
Truly do or die.
Do or die. Wittenbrink hoofs one in. Flicked on. Mayer! Saved by Finnerty. They may say it's trying to cross the goal line, but that does it. Huge implications. Joey Mayer saying the ball may have crossed the goal line. He's wanting them to go look at another VAR review. He's adamant that it crossed the goal line, trying to talk to the fourth official or the official on the sideline that it crossed the goal line. But he's saying that I don't believe anything can be reviewed here. And Owen Finnerty running off with the ball. Referee talking to Mayer there, trying to convince him that the goal came in there. Hopefully we'll get a replay here in a moment.
Right.
But Joey Mayer is insistent upon him checking that one there. And I'm waiting to see what Alex Beeler decides to do if he wants to add another VAR review to what has already been a very long evening.
Well, if they can do a review at that, why would they not be able to review this?
We'll see. So we have the situation that caused that, the collision off the ball against Patrick McDonald, it was actually the man who received it in the end. And here's the ball into the box, flicked on by Miller. Mayer running onto it, gets his head to it, getting towards the goal line. I don't think that crossed the goal line.
It was close? I don't think so.
It was certainly close. A player collided with the post as well.
I believe that may have been Mayer colliding.
And we have VAR review part 2. He is reviewing things to try and see if there's a goal. Joey Mayer preparing himself. If there's a goal called here, this is going to be one of the weirdest celebrations ever. Because all the players are on the field. This is like...
They're intermingling. They're shaking. Some of them are shaking hands.
If you think back to another football analogy, Indiana Penn State football, the last review.
Don't.
Flicked on by Indiana. Mayer with the header. A great situation by Indiana, to be honest with you. Way too deep on the goal line. That one is close, Amanda. I don't think you can review it and give that as a goal, to be honest, though.
It's hard because the angle of the camera is from behind. It's not right in line with the goal, and that's why I'm hesitant. It looked like definitely, obviously it has to be totally across the goal line, but Finnerty was back. He was further back in the box than I think he should have been.
The match is over. Joey Mayer was celebrating as if he thought he had scored, but in the end, it's given. I believe ultimately, if that was given by the fourth official or the official on the sideline, that could have been a goal. But it wasn't. It had to be completely over the goal line, completely obvious. And I agree with the referee's call in the end that one was not obvious. And Amanda, I have to say, we'll see it one more time here and we'll explain it. So Jansen Miller here is going to flick this header on. Mayer is going to attack it. The clock is going roundabouts right now. You see the footing, and it gets right into the gut. I don't know if you can say that ball is fully across the goal line.
I don't
you
think
see where the feet are positioned compared to his gut. I would say maybe half the ball is across the goal line, but the entirety of the ball has to be across the white line of the goal line. And it didn't. And that's kind of an analogy for the entire match, Amanda. It was Indiana who had a lot of the opportunities. 19-9, they edged the shots. Joey Mayer I imagine very frustrated after that. Amanda, your final thoughts after one of the weirdest conclusions to a match you probably have ever seen.
I mean, you said it all right there, and I think just like you said, it was not a bad game for Indiana, but so many missed opportunities, 19 shots, 5 shots on goal, only able to get 1 in the back of the net. It's a weird night, and it was a weird game, and Indiana did well, but they could have done better, and Michigan State was able to step it up when they really needed to. Their 1 shot on goal worked out well for them, and they got the better part of the VAR review in the end.
Well, there was a very, very awkward finish to that match. Michigan State finished with 10 men, 1 man down, but in the end, it finished Indiana 1, Michigan State 1. Looking at where the teams will head to next, Indiana stays here. They'll play against Northwestern on Tuesday of next week, while Michigan on the same day. Michigan State will play against Michigan in an in-state rivalry. It's been a fun one for Brianna Baylog and Amanda Foster. I've been Jack Edwards, signing off here from Bill Armstrong Stadium. Michigan State 1, Indiana 1. An overcast evening in Bloomington welcomes some Big Ten soccer between the Indiana Hoosiers and Michigan State Spartans, match ending 1-1. Jack Edwards and Amanda Foster in the recap of the contest. The lone goal for the Hoosiers coming courtesy of Brett Beebe. Great composure in front of net for the defender who managed to get it home across the goal.
Well, and exactly, that's the one goal Indiana had. They finished the game 19 shots, 6 shots on goal, compared to Michigan's 8 shots with only 1 shot on goal. But that 1 shot on goal was really the one that Michigan State needed, and it tied it up, and nothing else happened for the rest of the game for either of those teams. Just an interesting game overall. Indiana dominating, but still not able to get the final push.
You see the goal from Grayson Mercer, the glancing header after Louis Sala's cross in. The match ended in odd circumstances. Louis Sala getting himself sent off with under 5 seconds to go, but doesn't matter in the end. Match ends 1-1 between Indiana and Michigan State.